We've had just one person in the office for a year now, and then it went to nobody in the office. So then I would jump on people when the behaviors would slow down, but I would do it too soon because they're people, right? There's going to be a bad day here and there or whatever, but I give them the ability to self-correct. Since I've been able to do that more this year, and when I talk to them, I say, listen, this is all on you. I'm not going to hover over you.
So we have a few groups. So the carrier specific groups or the iDudes group, we see it a lot. People asking about remote, which indicates that it seems to be a struggle, right? What are a couple tips that you could maybe offer that would help people?
Man, it's the interview process. You're asking for you're interviewing for the right people. It goes back to, again, the culture fit is we're a remote culture. So are you self-accountable or have to be on you the entire day, right? I'm not trying to be on you the entire day, and that's why everybody posts their numbers at the end of the day, right? We also have a daily sales meeting, and that's kind of like our halftime because we do it in the early afternoon. So it's like, hey, what do we do the first half of the day? What do we got to do to meet or exceed our goals the second half of the day? I mean, from a process perspective or like a logistical perspective, I have like a freaking mini FedEx store in my house. Because I'm like constantly sending equipment back and forth.
Yeah, for us, it's been interesting because, we're in California. We got a whole can of worms out here. But right now, I'm part of the agency I'm kind of enjoying because we were going hard for a while. This year, we have sales goals, so we're hitting those sales goals, but we've been 100% remote. 100%. My office manager had to come in one day to fix a computer. So that's the only thing that we did. And we have our salesperson back. He's hitting his numbers. We're doing a lot with referrals, like a lot with referrals. We're hitting some great numbers and 80% of it's hitting from referrals now. So that's nice. It's funny, like one of the things that I've been realizing is I'll jump in when needed, but I never jump in like I used to. Like I would jump in like, hey, a couple days are slow, right? And I don't do that now. Like I will wait it out, which is very painful for me. And then I'll have a conversation. So what I do to track my people, it's only behavior based. So they have a spreadsheet that they fill out every day and it's all behaviors. There's calls that's going out, talk time, like all the things, because we put together a formula. Hey, if Sally, we'll just say Sally's not real, but if Sally's doing all these different behaviors, then I'm totally cool. And so of yesteryear, we used to do like screen recordings here and there and stuff like that, but like we don't do any of that stuff anymore. It's just I look at the behaviors. Like if the behaviors are there, then it should be good. We've had just one person in the office for a year now, and then it went to nobody in the office. So then I would jump on people when the behaviors would slow down, but I would do it too soon because they're people, right? There's going to be a bad day here and there or whatever, but I give them the ability to self-correct. Since I've been able to do that more this year, and when I talk to them, I say, listen, this is all on you. I'm not going to hover over you. Like I see, last week you had a rough week. Or 2 weeks ago, you had a rough week, and you need to be the one to self-correct because I'm not going to do it. I refuse to do it. So since I've done that and I've pulled back more, it's doing well. It's working out really well, actually.
Mr. Jason let go.
I had to let go. It was driving me bananas.
I mean, it is pretty amazing because it's like an illusion to think that we could control all these things, right? And so it is pretty interesting when, at number one, congratulations, because it's freaking very, very, very difficult to not jump in, right? Especially the way I think that all of us agents are, right? Like we're hardwired to jump in and help. Like especially from the days when we're answering phones and helping clients, because it's just nonstop, right? It's just nonstop insanity when you're in the trenches. So then when we take ourselves out a little bit, we do it to our people, like how we were doing it before, right? And which is highly ineffective. I mean, we learned here at iDudes, like managing people like that, what happens, right? Like it's like jumping in. They don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really difficult to be discerning and stop yourself. So good job. Have you ever done a time thing? It's the worst, but it's really good when it's done. Like a time journal. So you track every 15 minutes, you write down what you're doing for the day, and you can do it for as long as you can handle it. But from a day, you'll get a pretty good idea. If you do it every 15 minutes, very difficult.
Yeah.
But then you go back and look at it, even wait a couple days and look at it and go, holy shit, I spent a half hour. And you'll see all these things that you actually can eliminate that you think you had to do or that catch you off guard and you end up doing because it's easier just to do it. But the problem is we all do these things that, it's just easier if I just handle it. Like I'm the king of it's just easier if I just handle it. And what happens is you spend all day long handling all these things that you shouldn't be handling.
Yeah, I was texting with the agency a couple of weeks ago. He's like 60, 70 million or something. And it's like a friendly competition and I'm always talking crap to him. And he's like, dude, you're like 3 or 4 reorgs from being where I'm at. And that really made me pause and think holy smokes, he has some merit to this. There's levels to scaling and how big your organization gets to support that level of demand from not just customers and prospects and marketing to the people themselves and what they need to be successful. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Ed, your business has different needs at different stages, right? You hit certain places where you can't do anything. You hit a ceiling unless you change stuff, right? I mean, insurance probably easier to scale from that perspective because it's just add more leads, add more callers, just keep adding the tinker toys. But still, you get to those points where it's okay, you get to a certain point where you can't run the show anymore. You have to have an operator, right? And then the next thing up, right? Then the operator has departments or whatever, right? So it can get wacky.
So the false belief is every stage is more work. That's not actually true. But I think to level up, because we all fill our days with 24 hours of stuff, right? So you have to change your identity to get to the next step. So leveling up is hard initially, but it's easier once it's solidified. You know what I mean? So it's now I've gone backwards big time. I had to get rid of my whole sales team because of the California stuff. And now in order to get back to where I was would be an incredible amount of work. Where it's if I would have just stayed where I was at, and let's say none of that stuff did happen, it would just be these incremental steps and it would start compounding like George. It's it compounds and compounds. So, it's it goes back to that whole thing where consistency trumps intensity every day. If I listened to this and I was, Jason 6 years ago, I'd be dude, I could never get where George is. But I've seen what George has done, and I've seen what a bunch of people in our community have done. And it was just these steps where they just kind of got to that next step. They pushed themselves and boom. And then they're at that level. And then George is always doing that thing. How do I level up? I'm going to buy another agency. Okay. Even though, you just hired this team and you could just sit there and have the success at that level, you're what do I do? And you just add another piece and you add another piece and it just builds over time.
But it's I like building something new. If I understand your place because I think we're very similar, and peel it all off because somebody else created the situation and now you can't do it. It's very daunting and to even consider rebuilding, right?
Well, I can't. Fuck.
Yeah.
The math doesn't work right
The
now.
math doesn't work. It'll work in 2 to 3 years.
We've known you the whole journey, right? We met you when we were figuring this stuff out. What have you seen or what have you felt you've changed along the way? Because you did it a little differently. Most people will incrementally scale, and I mean, you did have some incremental, but they were bigger increments. I think you started with 8 callers and tons of leads and really diving into how you were doing your, growing your agency. So you started fast and hard and then went from there. But what, emotionally, how was that for you to where you are now? Old George, what was old George like? If this version of George that is here now were to talk to that George, how would that guy respond to you?
Yeah, keep it up. Just keep grinding. Yeah, I mean, look, I had some really good perspectives coming in, just because, if you got somebody that's coming in with absolutely no experience in the industry, it's a different perspective. That's why you should always work with a high-performing agency or get in the business and do it yourself before trying to jump out and open a whole business up, right? So I had a a vision of like what this could look like. And it's crazy because when I opened it up, it was like 100 items was like, you are just absolutely knocking the ball off the cover.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was what I wanted to do, right? So that's what we started to do. It took me like 8 months to get to that, and much longer than what I thought I was going to need. But, you know, again, it's just about grinding it out and consistently pushing. But now, like, it's a whole new game. Like, because of how the compensation has been updated, at least for our company, and a lot of carriers are different, you know, they're switching it or moving a lot of that compensation or front loading it to new business. You have to find ways to really scale your new business acquisition. And that's what we've done. We've really taken that in stride. The cash flow works in our market, and it gives us the opportunity to continue to push the needle. And we just want to see how far we can take it. I think it'll be a disservice for the business as a whole, and for my leaders and for the salespeople in my office, if I didn't try to continue to push the needle, is how I see it.
And you can't buy more beach houses if you don't push it.
Right.
Yes, you can't buy more beach houses.
I mean, listen, whoever's listening to this, still, you guys have to freaking see the size of George's beach house. I don't think I've ever seen a house this big on the beach.
Oh man, yeah, it's comfortable.
It is so, that thing freaking gigantic. How many square feet? Is it 5,000 square feet or something?
It looks like it because it's raised, right? It's in the flood zones on the beach, so it's raised. So it looks like it's 3 stories, but it's really 2 stories. But yeah, it's like 3 or 32.
So that place is really cool place.
Yeah, it's booked, fully booked. We got it booked nearly like 90% from March through October, so we're pretty excited.
That's awesome. And what beach is it on?
Navarre Beach. So it's like 30 minutes west of Destin.
I had a heck of a time going there. I lost my driver's license before we landed, so tried to get my rental car and the whole thing. Oh my God. What a nightmare.
Craig, you want to make $1 million? Just get a videographer to just follow you around.
Yeah, I know, right? It'd be a lot like Steve-O or something.
I just watched Jackass 3 actually. We were in Florida for like 2 weeks, and we just saw that, and yeah, it was fun to see Steve-O again.
I think that's the only place it was playing. It was in Florida.
Jackass 3. But yeah, thanks for the plug for the house. Absolutely. If you want to bypass property management companies, reach out. Definitely give you a sweet deal on the beach for your family.
The insurance dude's deal.
The link will be in the show notes. Or if you want, just email George. So this is a great corner. What one piece of advice do you have for somebody who has now been an agent for 3 months and is starting to freak out?
Take a deep breath. I mean, seriously, I mean, that's really the position I was in when I met you. Honestly, like, I was like, holy smokes. Like, I feel like I just got punched in the face by Mike Tyson. But yeah, take a deep breath, connect, get into the communities like this, really try to understand what you have to do to be successful in this business, and then start writing down what your processes are going to look like. Like, you have to have a consistent process. If you don't have a consistent process that your team is following, then you have nothing to measure. And if you can't measure it, you can't get better, right? Even if your process doesn't work, right? Like, if you have a consistent process that doesn't work, you can pick apart that process and figure out what the root cause is, what different sections you need to tweak, but you gotta have consistency. You can't just let people jump in and start having whatever conversation they want.
Like 90% of the agents, like I did, that's how we did it. We didn't have any processes forever, right? And it's like, what a mess. You know, it's just like free flow. And you don't get anything from that. And it's interesting. Like, that's what I would tell old Craig if I went back and talked to him. I'd say, hey, dude, processes. Because you can't remember the next time they ask you, you don't remember how you did it the last time. So then it's different. And every time it's different. And then, all right.